Delhi police have just issued a stern warning to the protesting farmers. The Delhi police have said if the farmers turn aggressive, if the farmers are aggressive, we will not be on the defensive. We have to protect ourselves and we have to push aggressive farmers back. We have to make farmers understand they cannot breach the barricades. They may sit at the border. That is for the government to see. The Delhi police have said, and I quote, use tear gas shells, cannot give them a single weak point or they will push through with their tractors.
तो हमारी कोशिश ये रहेगी कि उनके ऊपर हम पहले गैस चलाएं और जरूरत पड़े तो लाठी चलाएं। कोशिश करें कि स्टन भी यूज करें और चिली वाला जो है वो भी यूज करें। उनकी पूरी एग्रेसिवनेस है तो हमें भी डिफेंसिव होने की बिल्कुल भी जरूरत नहीं है। हमारा जो स्टांस है वो पूरी तरह एग्रेसिव होगा। हमें अगर हम डिफेंसिव पे चले गए तो हम सब घायल हो जाएंगे। वो जिस जोश के साथ आ रहे हैं उससे डबल जोश हमारा होगा, तभी हम उनको रोक पाएंगे। वो पागलों की तरह काम कर रहे हैं, हम पागल की तरह काम नहीं कर सकते। हमें लॉजिकली करना है, अपने आप को बचाना भी है और उनको फेल भी करना है आगे बढ़ने से। तो ये सारी चीजें जो हम लोग कमांडर्स के साथ डिस्कस की थी, इसकी जब भी वो आएंगे ये बार बार चलेगा। वो आगे बढ़ेंगे, हमें पीछे खदेड़ना है, टीयर गैस चलानी है, लाठी चलानी है, अपने आप को बचाना है। ये एक प्रोसेस चलेगा जो मुझे लगता है हो सकता है पूरे दिन चलता रहे। जिस समय उनको ये समझ में आ गया कि वो आगे दिल्ली में नहीं जा सकते, इस बैरिकेड को ब्रीच नहीं कर पाएंगे, वो बैठ जाएंगे, फिर हमें शांति हो जाएगी। बैठने से भी कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, कितने भी दिन बैठे सरकार से नेगोशिएट करें, वो सरकार का लुकआउट है, पॉलिसी मैटर एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन का लुकआउट। हमारा उद्देश्य है इनको रोकना है, दिल्ली में जाके ये अराजकता ना फैलाए, वायलेंस ना करे, इसलिए हमें इनको बॉर्डर पे रोकना है। और उसके लिए हम सबको एकजुट रहना है, कोई भी जवान इधर से उधर ना जाए। जब एक्शन होगा, अगर हम एकजुट होकर कंबाइंड एक्शन करेंगे, चाहे आरएएफ है, चाहे दिल्ली पुलिस है, सीआरपीएफ है, सब मिलके करेंगे तो हम सब सुरक्षित रहेंगे और ये लोग फेल हो जाएंगे। हमारा थोड़ा सा भी कहीं पे भी कोई भी वीक हुआ तो इनको कोई एक थोड़ा सा भी कोना मिल गया तो ये
That's a very clear message from the Delhi police. If the farmers are aggressive, if the farmers turn violent, then the Delhi police will not be on the defensive. The Delhi police say they have a very clear guide missive. The Delhi police have been told to stall the farmers, to stop the farmers at Delhi's borders. They should not enter. They can sit there peacefully, they can protest there peacefully, but if they turn violent, then the Delhi police will take retaliatory action as per law. That's the message that goes out from the Delhi police leadership to the Delhi police rank and file, that along with the Central Reserve Police Force and the Rapid Action Force have been deployed at Delhi's borders, because more than 200 farmers' unions are marching to the national capital to press the centre to accept their demand. A massive Haryana police versus protesting farmers showdown took place earlier today at the Shambhu border, and the situation remains extremely tense even now. Police had to fire tear gas shells, and these were tear gas shells that were fired from a drone to disperse the protesting farmers. A cause for concern, according to the Delhi police and the Haryana police, are these modified tractors being used by farmers to breach the barricades. We bring you more in this report.
Tear gas fills the air. Fierce confrontations. Obstacles. Sharp spikes. Barbed wire barriers. And law enforcement in riot gear. Once again, farm protests erupt in India's grain bowl heartland, evoking memories of the march from Punjab and Haryana to the nation's capital on November 26, 2020.
हालात यहाँ पर कहीं ना कहीं बेकाबू होते जा रहे हैं और सिचुएशन तनाव वाली बनी हुई है। लोगों को भी समझाने की कोशिश की जा रही है कि लोग भी आगे ना बढ़ें। और ये देखिए, ये जो ड्रोन आया है इससे टीयर गैस सेल फेंके जा रहे हैं।
This time around, the protests carry a different tone from the prolonged agitation of the past. In contrast to the 2020 protests against new agricultural laws, which were eventually repealed a year later. The February 2024 protests focus on long-standing grievances confronting the country's agricultural sector.
देखिए किसान कितना पीसफुल है, कुछ भी नहीं हो रहा, फिर भी आप ऊपर क्या बोलते हैं, रॉबर्ट से ऊपर से हंजू गैस फेंके जा रहे हैं, ड्रोन से।
एजीटी कितनी देर चलेगा यहाँ पे?
देखिए जब तक सरकार मांग नहीं मानती।
Key among the farmers' demands is the enactment of a new law ensuring a minimum support price for their crops. Despite some progress on other fronts, the impasse over the legally backed minimum support price fueled Monday's demonstrations. While the government sets minimum prices for over 20 crops annually, the Food Corporation of India primarily purchases rice and wheat at these rates, benefiting only about 6% of farmers. The government maintains that time is needed to devise a solution.
मैं मानता हूं कि बातचीत के माध्यम से समाधान निकल सकता है। इस बात को समझने की जरूरत है। इस बात को यदि हम समझेंगे तो स्वाभाविक रूप से इसका समाधान को अच्छे ढंग से निकाल पाएंगे।
Traffic routes and border restrictions around Delhi led to extensive gridlock in the city.
Behind me is what you witness is almost like a war zone because there's a consistent, oh my god, this is where a tear gas has gone on, and obviously this is almost suffocating because of the nature. And remember, this is where media is stationed, and continuously you see the farmers on one end, and this is where the farmers on one end and the Central Armed Police as well as Haryana Police on the other end. So continuously there is a back and forth stone pelting.
Currently, it is Shambhu border, located approximately 230 kilometers north of Delhi, that has become the focal point of clashes between enraged farmers and authorities striving to prevent their advance towards the city. With Kamaljeet Sandhu and Satyendra Chauhan, Bureau Report, India Today.
And for the latest situation on ground zero at 3 different borders around Delhi, India Today has the biggest team of reporters on ground zero. I have Milan Sharma joining me, Aishwarya Paliwal and Amit Bharadwaj. We'll come to our reporters, but before that, quickly take a look at this report filed by India Today's Satyendra Chauhan at the height of the protests and police action.
शंभू बॉर्डर पर एक बार फिर से धमाकों की आवाज सुनाई दे रही। तस्वीरें देखिए आप, चारों तरफ धुआं धुआं है, आंसू गैस के गोले लगातार छोड़े जा रहे हैं, भगदड़ मची हुई है। तस्वीर आप देखिए किस तरीके से भीड़ को काबू करने के लिए पुलिस द्वारा टीयर गैस सेल का इस्तेमाल किया जा रहा है। एक बार भीड़ को आगे किया जाता है, फिर पीछे भीड़ को पीछे छोड़ा जाता है, भीड़ फिर आगे आ जाती है। तकरीबन 2 घंटे से लगातार इस तरह के हालात यहाँ पर बने हुए हैं, जहाँ पर पुलिस भीड़ को काबू करने की कोशिश करती है, लेकिन भीड़ और बेकाबू हो रही है। तस्वीरें आप देखिए, यहाँ पर लगातार टीयर गैस के सेल छोड़े जा रहे हैं। देखिए तस्वीरें किस तरीके से यहाँ पर माहौल तनावपूर्ण बना हुआ है। शंभू बॉर्डर पर हालात लगातार बेकाबू होते जा रहे हैं। लगातार धमाकों की आवाज आप सुन सकते हैं। ड्रोन से और गनों से लगातार टीयर गैस के सेल यहाँ पर फेंके जा रहे हैं। आसमान में आप देख सकते हैं ये ड्रोन है और इस ड्रोन से टीयर गैस सेल फेंके जा रहे हैं। इसके अलावा आप देखिए ये जो धुआं उठ रहा है, लगातार ये धमाकों की आवाज आपको सुनाई दे रही है। पुलिस किसानों को, प्रदर्शनकारियों को रोकने के लिए लगातार टीयर गैस सेल का इस्तेमाल कर रही है। कुल मिलाकर जितनी स्थिति को संभालने की कोशिश की जाती है, हालात उतने ही बिगड़ रहे हैं। और यहाँ पर लगातार ये जो धमाकों की आवाजें हैं, माहौल को तनावपूर्ण बना रही हैं और स्थिति को कहीं ना कहीं चिंताजनक बना रही हैं।
Now, this is the situation on the Shambhu border, which is between Punjab and Haryana. What's the situation at Delhi's borders? Milan Sharma at Ghazipur, Aishwarya Paliwal at Tikri. Milan, Shambhu border, the situation remained precarious, remains tense, but what's Delhi bracing for?
Well, Gaurav, as you rightly said, Delhi is bracing for a few more days of traffic jams in the morning because the barricading behind me that you can see will not move at all, whether it's Ghazipur border, Tikri border, as well as Sangrur border, which is perhaps going to be the next flashpoint of the farmers' protest, as well as the Delhi police, because you heard that statement from Delhi police clearly saying that don't be on the defensive if the farmers become aggressive, use tear gas shells, use force on them, because at any point they don't want them to breach that Sangrur border at least. And we saw images of farmers, moving barricades from the Shambhu border this morning, and the continuous tear gas shelling has still not stopped them because their demand is to move towards Delhi as the MSP law talks have failed. And on the part of the government, they are making sure that the farmers are not able to breach borders from anywhere.
Okay.
So at the Ghazipur border also, since we are showing you since the morning, there's been a lot of traffic, but the government is trying all its best to make sure commuter movement happens. But we have heard a lot of people complain, especially car drivers who are complaining that there have been jams for over 3 to 4 hours throughout the day. But let me tell you, Delhi has to brace for more of these in the next few days, and there will be no respite as the farmers progressively move in from Shambhu all the way to
And
Sangrur.
this is the time when you also have school children who are preparing for their board examination. And this is the time when long traffic jams are being feared. But Aishwarya, this is a situation where farmers apparently have modified tractors. Explain to us what these modified tractors are and what's the apprehension, what's the fear?
Bus. First, let me tell you what exactly is taking place at the Tikri border. I'll show you visuals. These are live visuals showing you the way in which the Tikri border at the moment is being sealed. The crane now being used. The idea is to make sure that cemented, barricaded borders, barbed wires are being used. And now almost the final stages of making sure that the Tikri border is almost completely sealed. The visuals that you're seeing here on India Today are coming to you from the Tikri border. The police personnel present here, in fact, let me tell you, just a couple of minutes back, the Delhi police chief, the Delhi police commissioner was also on the spot. He inspected the entire situation, and now with this, Gaurav, the sealing of the Tikri border is almost complete. The Delhi police very clearly has given out a statement, just in case the farmers use violent means, then police will also be forced, rather, to use force and to be violent and to make sure that they use tear gas. And this is a message that has been given out by the Delhi police and here at the Tikri border, just to make sure that farmers do not cross over. That's the reason why you are seeing, the sealing of the Tikri border now taking place. This container now
what's
being
the
put
government
in place,
strategy? We heard Union Minister Arjun Munda talk about an effort being made to find a solution through talks. Are talks happening? There's also court intervention that has been sought by some. What's the ground position on that?
Well, the government obviously, today the government also in the court very clearly said that they are willing to have a conversation with the farmers, and that's exactly what two union ministers tried doing last night also. From what we are understanding, the meeting went on for almost 6 hours, Gaurav. Now, that's no less of a time, but the farmers very stringent on their stand, steadfastly standing with the stand and saying that we have waited enough, we have waited for almost 2 years, we don't believe you, and now we want to have a conversation with the Prime Minister, want to come to the national capital. But we did see what took place on the Shambhu border. The Delhi police, the authorities, the government a little apprehensive of the farmers in large numbers coming to the national capital. That's the reason why we are seeing one after the other. All the borders are now being sealed. The government, however, still extending an olive branch, Gaurav, and saying that we are still at the moment willing to make sure that doors are open for more talks in future. Gaurav.
And Milan, Why is it that the government is not permitting farmers to come in and protest? Even the High Court asked that question. How can they be stopped at the borders? They have a right to protest at a location. Or is there an apprehension that there could be a repeat of the Red Fort incident?
Well, Gaurav, as you pointed out rightly, that is the apprehension, because you remember scenes from the 26th January Red Fort where a lot of farmers were actually inside Delhi and a lot of vandalism took place near the Red Fort area. But having said that, the last time the farmers came to Delhi, the farmer unions that were leading that protest were separate from the ones leading the protest now. This is Kisan Mazdoor Manch and the non-political wing of SKM. The other political wing of the Samyukt Kisan Morcha hasn't still chimed in or whether or not they want to be part of this particular protest. But of course, the scenes that were played out in Delhi the last time when we were covering this protest in 2020, 2021 is enough for the government as well as the Delhi police to be on guard. And therefore, they will do everything in their power to stop the farmers at the Singhu border itself. For 13 months, the farmers were at the Singhu border. They say that the MSP law was promised and that was not adhered to later on by the government. Of course, that time the issue was more about the 3 farm laws which the farmers wanted rolled back, which the government did roll back, in fact. But now the point is come to the MSP law as well as other demands that the farmers are making, which the government feels may not be economically viable to give, especially the Swaminathan committee report, which is now under discussion now. The C2 plus 50% is a difficult conundrum even for the government, and even getting them out of the electricity bills that the farmers have to pay. They're also talking about giving farmers pensions. So all these things will require the government to maneuver the exchequer funds and find out whether it's even possible. And that would put a lot of pressure on the taxpayers' money as well. And these are the reasons that the government
and
is giving at
Aishwarya,
this
keep
point of
tracking
time.
that story.